Welcome back, everybody. Last week, we closed the book, and this week, we're going to literally open it again. But this week is called The Second Sight. So here's the idea, and it's one of my favorites in all of teaching. A second reading is always like reading a different book. Not because the words have changed, but because you did. You know what's going to come now. So every quiet little thing Steinbeck planted in chapter 1 is suddenly standing there in plain sight, waving at you. You didn't miss those things because you were careless per se, but you missed them because you weren't finished reading the book yet. But now you are. So let's go back and let's see what was there the whole time. But first, I want to share a little update I did on our app on the relation study. One important thing waiting for you on the app this week is on the capstone page. So if you go to the capstone page and then I don't know if it can show, scroll down to the relation study, you're going to see here some images. So if you've ever wondered what your relation study is supposed to look like, I've added some examples for all three. I have the map of Salinas, the press plant page, and the working year calendar. And I didn't just give you one version because there's not one right version. Some of you might think like a map maker. Some might think more like a naturalist, and some more like a historian. So look at these examples and find the way that it shapes the way that you see it. And don't feel limited to those 3 examples either, please. Tap any example to make it bigger and really study the detail if that helps you. Here's why now. Your relation study comes home next week. In week 6, this is when you're going to be turning it in and preparing to present it to me on our online meeting. So we want to put our best attention and really bring this together. I've assigned 40 minutes every week, but if you haven't, or if you feel like, oh, now I have a better idea of what I can do with this, give it a little bit more time if that's necessary. Whatever you chose back on week 1, let those examples be your guide. It's all waiting on the capstone page, so go take a look there before you settle into your second reading. Also, this week you're going to have a choice, and both paths are real work. So path 1, reread the whole book, start to finish, faster this time. Read the beginning like someone who already knows the ending, because you do. Path 2, watch the film. Gary Sinise's Of Mice and Men from 1992 is just a phenomenal rendition of the book. And hear me, this is not a shortcut. A film adaptation is a director's second reading of a book. He read it, thought hard about what it meant, and made his own version. And he acts and plays George in it. So you're holding his second reading beside yours. Watch what he keeps, what he cuts, and what the camera can show you that the page could only suggest. And a note for families, this film does have period accurate language. So it has foul language. And the ending of the book, it is on screen. So watch it together. Make sure there's no younger siblings around. Have your parents even look it up online just to see what their comfort level is. Wherever the handout says to reread, here rewatch if you choose to watch it. All right, guys. So after your second visit to the book, read or watched, I want you to tell it back, narrate it, but don't just give me a plot. It's not a summary I'm asking for. This week, your narration is going to be different, but in 5 to 8 sentences, you're going to tell me what you noticed this time that you didn't notice the first time. Okay, guys, welcome back. So your question this week is a follow it, not a what, but a why question. And specifically, why this pattern? This handout's example is a good one. Why does Steinbeck put a water snake in the pool in both chapter 1 and 6? We discussed that a bit last time. Feel the difference between that and how many pages is in the book? Is there a snake mentioned in the book? One of the questions opens the door, and the other ones, well, they just close a door. So look for things that repeat, the echoes that you couldn't hear the first time, and follow one of those and write it as a follow-up question about this pattern that you noticed. Okay, let's look at our analytical questions. On the reread or in the film, what did you see that you missed the first time? What was there the whole book, sitting in plain sight, waiting for you to be ready for it? Number 2, would ordinary objects or images become meaningful just by coming back? What has Steinbeck quietly turned into a symbol? And some questions to sit with. Which characters look different on the second visit than they did on the first? What symbols does Steinbeck return to? What does each one of them hold? Is the rabbit farm ever a real possibility, or was it always a symbol? And how can you tell? And lastly, the film path. What did the director keep, and what did he cut? What does the camera notice that the page could only suggest? Keep those questions in mind, because these will be where we come back to for our conversation when you have your meeting with me. The lens this week goes right to the heart of everything. Albert Camus asked how we keep going. Sartre said, we are what we choose. So pick one character, George, Lenny Crooks, Curly's wife, or Candy. Look at the choices they made across the whole book and ask, what kind of person are they becoming? Not what happens to them, but what they're making of themselves, choice by choice, in a world that isn't handing them anything. And then point to one moment that shows it. Just one specific moment on the page. Because that's the whole existentialist claim, really, right? You're not what happened to you. You are what you did about it. First, Sartre says that we're defined by what we do, not by what happens to us. So who in this book becomes the most fully themselves through their choices? And is this the same thing as becoming good? Second, think all the way back to Camus and Sisyphus. At the very end, we can imagine George at peace with the choice he made, the way Camus asks us to imagine Sisyphus happy. Or is that too much to ask of him? You don't have to answer these on paper. Just let them ride with you in your second reading. All right, let's take a look at this week's image. This week, we do this one as real as a picture study can be. So let me set you up before you look at it. In a picture study, remember, you don't glance at it and move on. You dwell. You're going to go and look at this painting slowly and quietly, long enough that you could close your eyes and describe it from memory. So before you open it or open the app and get still, when the picture comes up, let your eyes wander the whole scene first. Look at the people, what they're doing, the place that they're in, the season, the mood, and then start noticing the small things. Don't read a word about the picture. Just look. Go ahead, pause me, and look at it for a good minute or two. All right, now the picture study. So without peeking, tell it back to yourself out loud in your room. What do you remember? What was happening? Who was in it? What did the place feel like? Remember, say it out loud or jot it down if you feel better about that. Then look at the picture again and see what you might have missed the first time. Now, let's walk this together. Start with the people. There's a man out front turning over his garden with a spade. breaking the soil for spring. Behind him, someone's beating the dust out of a rug. Others are out at their chores. Children are about. A whole town is doing the ordinary, hopeful work of a spring day. Now let's look at the place. White clapboard houses and tidy yards, green fields rolling out behind, and trees just coming into leaf. Everything neat and settled and rooted, like it's been there forever and plans to stay forever. Let's look at the feeling. So there's a warmth, there's order, a feeling of renewal. These are people who belong to a piece of land, to a town, to each other. Now hold all of that by the book that we just finished. Where have George and Lenny been for the whole book? Nowhere for long. No house, no land of their own, no town, no neighbors. Just the next ranch and the next, always moving on. Now, look at the man spading his own garden and ask yourself, isn't that the exact life George keeps describing? A little place of their own, a patch to tend, living off the fat of the land. This painting is the dream. It's the very thing that George and Lenny ache for, painted in full color with real people already living inside it. And here's the quiet heartbreak for your handout that Grant's pointing to, and John Steinbeck was painting. Grant Wood and John Steinbeck were painting the same country at the same moment. And one of them was showing the people who got to belong, and the other one is showing those who were left outside the window looking in. All right, now the craft of language. And this week, it's the one thing, everything that's been building towards, symbols. Last week, we said what comes back gets weight. And this week, we take that to the next step. A symbol is an image that has started carrying meaning beyond itself, carrying weight. The rabbits aren't just rabbits. They're the dream, their safety, their softness, something of one's own to tend. The pool, it isn't just water. It's where things begin and end. And that's what you're watching for on this second visit. The moment an ordinary thing stops being ordinary. Let me walk you through two small moments from chapter 1 in the order that Steinbeck actually gives them. And watch how the second one lands completely differently. So let's go ahead and grab our books. And we're going to go to chapter 1. And we're going to start off with the dead mouse moment. So if we turn to page 5, halfway through the page, George looked sharply at him. What'd you take out of that pocket? Ain't a thing in my pocket, Lenny said cleverly. I know there ain't. You got it in your hand. What you got in your hand? Hiding it. Only a mouse, George. A mouse? A live mouse? Uh-huh. Just a dead mouse, George. I didn't kill it, honest. I found it. I found it dead. Give it here, said George. Let me have it, George. Give it here. Lenny's closed hand slowly opened. George took the mouse and he threw it across the pool and to the other side among the brush. What do you want a dead mouse for anyways? I could pet it with my thumb while we walked along, said Lenny. Well, you ain't petting no mice while you walk with me. You remember where we're going now? Right. Let's stop that reading there and let's jump ahead. Still in chapter 1, go to page 13. At the very bottom, we've got a different mouse in George's. Now, keep in mind, what is this book titled? Of Mice and Men, right? So the mice matter, and they don't play a big part in the book, but the meaning of them does. So let's listen. Hey, Jake, and in the middle. All right, so this is the second mouse part, sorry. So Lenny lumbered to his feet and he disappeared in the brush. George lay where he was and whistled softly to himself. There were sounds of splashing down the river in the direction Lenny had taken. George stopped whistling and listened. Poor guy, he said softly. Then he went on whistling again. In a moment, Lenny came crashing back through the brush. He carried one small willow stick in his hand. George sat up. All right, he said brusquely. Give me that mouse. But Lenny made an elaborate pantomime of innocence. What mouse, George? I ain't got no mouse. George held out his hand. Come on, give it to me. You ain't putting nothing over. Lenny hesitated, backed away, and he looked wildly at the brush line as though he contemplated running for his freedom. George said coldly, You gonna give me that mouse or do I gotta sock you? Give you what, George? You know darn well what I want. I want that mouse. Lenny reluctantly reached into his pocket. His voice broke a little. I didn't know why I couldn't keep it. It ain't nobody's mouse. I didn't steal it. I found it lying right beside the road. George's hand remained outstretched imperiously. Slowly, like a terrier who doesn't want to bring a ball to its master, Lenny approached, drew back, approached again. George snapped his fingers sharply, and at the sound, Lenny laid the mouse in his hand. I wasn't doing nothing bad with it, George. Just stroking it. All right. The first time through, this was just a strange, sad little habit. Lenny carrying a dead mouse in his pocket so he can pet something soft while he walks. But on your second visit, you know where all this is going. So watch what it really is. A man who loves soft things so much that he can't help but crush them. He doesn't mean to. He never means to. Hold on to that, because Steinbeck is about to hand you the dream in almost the very same breath. So we go down towards the bottom of the page. Lenny pleaded, Come on, George. Tell me, please, George, like you done before. All right, I'll tell you, and then we'll eat our supper. George's voice became deeper. He repeated his words rhythmically as though he had said them many times before. Guys like us that work on ranches are the loneliest guys in the world. They ain't got no family. They got no place to live. They come to a ranch and work up a stake, and then they go into town and blow their stake. And the first thing you know, they're pounding their tail on some other ranch. They ain't got nothing to look ahead to. Lenny was delighted. That's it. Now, tell how it is with us. George went on. With us, it ain't like that. We got a future. We got somebody to talk to that gives a darn about us. We don't have to sit at no bar blowing our jack just 'cause we got no place else to go. If them other guys get in jail, they can rot for nobody gives a darn. But not us. Lenny broke in. But not us. And why? Because I got you to look after me and you got me to look after you, and that's why. He laughed delightedly. Now, go on, George. Someday we're going to get a jack together and we're going to have a little house and a couple of acres and a cow and some pigs and live off the fat of the land, Lenny shouted, and have rabbits. Go on, George. Tell about what we're going to have in the garden and about the rabbits and the cages and about the rain in the winter and the stove and how thick the cream on the milk is, like you can hardly cut it. Tell about that, George. Why don't you do it yourself? You know all of it. No, you tell it. It ain't the same if I tell it. Go on, George. How I get to tend the rabbits? Well, said George, we'll have a big vegetable patch and a rabbit hutch and chickens. And when it rains in the winter, we'll just say, heck, we're going to work, and we'll just build up a fire and fill fire in the stove, and we'll sit around and listen to the rain coming down on the roof. Nuts. He took out his pocket knife. I ain't got time for no more. He drove his knife through the top of one of the bean cans. sawed out the top of it, passed the can to Lenny, and then he opened the second can. And from his side pocket, he broke out 2 spoons and passed one of them to Lenny. All right. Let's listen to what Lenny wants most in the whole world. It isn't the farm exactly. It's that he gets to tend the rabbits. He wants to be the one who takes care of the soft things. And you just watched 1 page ago what happens when Lenny holds something soft, right? So in Lenny, the dream and the danger are kind of the same thing. The rabbits are everything he loves: safety, softness, something of his own to care for, which is exactly why they become the symbol of the entire dream. And it's why the ending is already hidden inside this hopeful little speech. When Lenny loses the right to tend the rabbits, he hasn't lost some animals. He has lost the dream. And somewhere underneath, we always knew he would. That, in second sight, the mouse and the rabbits, side by side, telling you the ending on 1 page. Now look at your handout. First, a line that returns. Find a sentence, a phrase, or an image that repeats across the book and note the chapters where it appears. Now, if you're on the film path, when a repeated image catches your eye on screen, just go find it on the page and that's where you'll quote it from. Then in your chart, the rabbits are filled in here for you. As the example, you'll go ahead and fill in your 2 symbols. Where do they appear and what do they come to mean? All right, now your keep. So from your second visit, choose 1 to 3 lines to keep from the whole book. Copy each exactly from the page. If you're using the film path, use the words that still live in the book and add a note about why it matters. Here's what's interesting about a second visit. It's almost never the line that you would have kept the first time. Notice that. That change is the whole point of this week. The only other time I've been able to teach something this way is with poetry, because poems are so short that we can read them multiple times. This novelette, in my opinion, it's a novelette. We're able to do that. And the film rendition is so good that it can replace a second reading. And so you really get to see how meaning changes as you come back to it with new eyes. All right, so on the back of the handout, you do have your rhythm. So print that, choose your path, watch this video, enter the great conversation, compare your narration, do your capstone work, which is the haiku. So you're going to do 3 lines, 17 syllables. The lines are 5, 7, 5, strictly. You must follow that exactly. Write 3 or 4 drafts of your haiku and keep the truest one. The full assignment and the sample are on your capstone page. And as I said up top, this is your last big relation study session as well. So give it your 40 minutes, but give it your best 40 minutes and lean in on those new examples I added to the web app for you. Then turn in all your work on Google Classroom, photos or scans. Remember, no retyping is necessary. So here's a living idea I'd like to send you off with this week. The second time you see a thing, you finally see what was there all along. And that is true of books, and it's true of people. Next week is our last. It's going to be week 6, what we carry, and bring everything that you've made. We'll see you then. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So week 5 is what I've called our second sight. And here's the idea. It's a second reading, and it's like reading a different book. Not because the words have changed, because you changed. You know what's coming now. So every quiet little thing Steinbeck planted in chapter 1 is suddenly standing there in plain sight, waving at you. You didn't miss those things because you were careless. You missed them on the first reading because you weren't really finished yet. But now you are. So let's go back and see what was there the whole time. One important thing waiting for you on the app this week is on the capstone page. So go to the capstone page like I am right here and go down to the relation study. And when you get down there, you're going to find some subtle changes. If you've ever wondered, what are you supposed to do for the relation study? Because maybe having a visual could help you. I've included a few for you. I've added examples for all three. So if we look at the map of Salinas option, the pressed plant page one, and the working year calendar one, you now have visuals for all of them. And I didn't just give you one right version because there's many different ways to approach each of these. So I decided to give you three because there just isn't one single right answer or way to approach it. So some of you might think a little bit more like a map maker. Some might think more like a naturalist, and some might think more like a historian. So look at these example maps and find the shape that fits how you see it. Tap on any example to see it bigger. And really, you can study it in detail and zoom in. Then, if you are doing the pressed flowers, these are just kind of illustrated versions of how you could go about doing it. Then lastly, if we look at the working year on a ranch, there's multiple ways to actually express what a working year on a ranch would look like. So again, I gave you three different ways. Do not feel pigeonholed into one of the three ways for any of these relation study paths. I just really wanted to give you something concrete in case your brain was struggling on figuring out how you're supposed to take the information you've been putting together and presenting it when we have our online meeting one-on-one in August. So I've sent an email out and I will be adding it here on the capstone page where you're going to go to Calendly and you're going to sign up for a 20 to 30 minute meeting with me one-on-one. I was not able to find a time where everyone was able to meet to do some online classes. So this is actually going to be better. We're going to meet one-on-one and you're going to get to present to me your relation study. And then we'll have a one-on-one just conversation about the book. It's really much more personalized and I'll really get a much better feel for how you understood the book. It's going to be really neat. So just be ready for the sign up on the webpage, or you can use the link that I already emailed to your parents. Now, this week, you're going to have two choices, two paths that are real work. Path one, you can reread the whole book, start to finish, and faster this time. It really won't take that long to read the whole book. Read it from the beginning like someone who already knows the ending. The second path, watch the film. Gary Sinise's Of Mice and Men from 1992 is an excellent rendition of this book. And hear me, this is not a shortcut. This film adaptation is a director's second reading of the book. Gary Sinise read it. He thought hard about what it meant, and he made his own version. So you're holding his second reading beside yours. Watch where he keeps, what he cuts, and what the camera can show you that the page could only suggest. A note for families, though, this film does have period accurate language, and the ending is on screen. So watch it together. Keep younger siblings out of the room. Either path, the work's going to be the same. So seeing it a second time is seeing it better.